With YTWLs, we're going to want to bench at 45 degrees. Some people do them standing, but you're going to get a lot more out of the bench because it's going to allow you to turn everything off and exaggerate and isolate what we're really trying to get out of it. So we start with the Y, which is basically a trap 3 raise. So when we're on our bench, we want to be relaxed in towards it with our face into it. If your bench cuts off a little bit earlier, make sure that you're not exaggerating and extending through the neck, otherwise you'll be using too much of your upper traps. Because a trap 3 raise is for the third trap. If you're not feeling it in your third trap, you're not doing a trap 3 raise right. So what we're going to do first, lay in towards the bench. Also, all these drills are best to do without weights in the beginning stages, and then when you are adding weights, less weight is more weight a lot of the time. If you're really pulling in towards tension, you're probably going to be actually using more of the smaller pieces that we're trying to use here. So we're going to lay in towards the bench. We're going to externally rotate lightly so the crook of the elbow faces towards the ceiling. First, we're going to depress the scapula as much as we can, then we're going to retract. From there, the arms are coming out to around 45 degrees, keeping that retraction and depression, squeezing as heavy as you can at the top, bringing the arms down, relaxing through the scapula. Depress and retract. Crook of the elbow towards the ceiling, arms at about 45 degrees. As the arms come up, I'm still actively trying to find more depression and retraction through the scapula. At the top, I'm squeezing everything as tight as I can, and then the arms come down, and then the shoulders come down. The next is the T, which is a bit more of a simpler movement, and it's just a bit more rhomboid dominant. Now, it's easy to be lazy with how much external rotation you use here, so don't. Lay in towards the bench again. This time, we're going to have the arms and the scapula travel with one another towards the ceiling. So I'm going to retract as I actively externally rotate. I'm going to squeeze at the peak as much as I can before allowing the arms and the scapula to travel down together. Arms and scapula towards the ceiling. As the scapula fully retracts, I'm trying to add as much external rotation as I can before the arms come back down. Retract, external rotation, arms and scapula travel down together at the same time. Next is the W. So elbow just slightly underneath the shoulder line. And this time we're going to make a fist. And the fist and elbow are going to travel together with the scapula, like the T, towards the ceiling. But because of the positioning of the arm, we're going to try to get the lats a bit more involved. So again, towards the box, elbows just below shoulder height, make tight fists. Elbows come up as the scapula retracts, and we try to get the fist towards the ceiling, trying to pull the lats on as tight as we can. Back down. Arms and scapula towards the ceiling, squeeze lats, squeeze back down. External rotation, fists, elbows, retraction. And finally is the L, which if you're watching this, you're probably a bit more familiar with drills that are popular in movement culture. It's basically a Cuban rotation, but leading from this same position. So we're going to have a 90-degree bend in the elbow. We're going to keep the elbow in line with the shoulder the whole time. So from here, I'm going to have my elbows in line with my shoulders, trying not to actively retract. Going to keep the elbow as localized as possible. Tight fists again, elbows stay at 90 degrees as I externally rotate my fist towards the ceiling without allowing the scapula to elevate, and then back down. So I'm trying not to favor any sort of active depression, retraction, or elevation here. And I'm just externally rotating, trying to keep the elbows localized, 90-degree bend in the elbows. So when cycling through this movement, it's best to be doing all the Y's together, then all the T's together, and I recommend 8 to 12 reps, 1 to 3 rounds, depending on whatever you're working on.